Welcome to the Anime Audiophile Podcast. Enjoy. Itachi Shinden, Book of Dark Night. Chapter 6 Part 2. Itachi's 12 now. It's about time you did it. Danzo looked down on Hiruzen, sitting at the Hokage's desk. With Shisui's death, the only pawn we have against the Uchiha is Itachi. We can't have him spending his days burdened with all these random missions as a member of the Anbu under your control. Promote him to team leader? It's just as I said before. Raise his official age by a year, and the issue of the rules resolves itself. Sighing, Hiruzen stretched his hands out on his desk, picking up his pipe and bringing a flame to the bowl. Purple smoke drifted up into the air. The creases around his eyes deepening, Hiruzen looked at Danzo and said, "I can't stop feeling sorry about Shisui's death." That a ninja of his abilities would commit suicide, Danzo snickered in his heart. The poison Shuguru had used disappeared in the blood, so that there was no trace of it when the murder was later investigated. It was a technique befitting a member of the Foundation, where the bulk of their work was assassination. A group as dim-witted as the military police force would never notice Danzo pulling strings behind the scenes. If he had one worry, it would be Itachi. There was a possibility that he knew. The note Shisui left before he died bothered Danzo. It was hard to believe Shisui had had so much time that he had been able to leave a note in his room before throwing himself into the river. The most likely scenario was that Itachi had copied Shisui's handwriting and written the note. Still, Danzo could use Itachi's desire for peace to handle even this situation. He turned to the man who was meant to be his old friend. The Uchiha were quiet for a time because of Shisui's death, but recently they've started to move again. We won't be able to avoid an explosion. I know that. So, then? I'll approve Itachi's promotion. The corners of Danzo's mouth naturally curled up. Then I'll go ahead with the paperwork. But this is at most a special case, Danzo responded with a nod. When the dissatisfaction of the Uchiha clan is eliminated, I'll release Itachi. Once they settle down, there's no need of Itachi. After that, you do what you want. Would that day actually ever come? In his heart, Danzo sneered at Hiruzen's softness. In name, it's the establishment of a new team due to the increase in the number of Anbu missions. And with a new team comes a new team leader. A position you were selected for, Danzo recounted dispassionately, sitting tall before Itachi in the office of the Foundation mansion. Shuguru was standing behind Danzo, in his usual white tiger mask. I've asked that the members of this new team come from the Foundation, and I've obtained Hiruzen's approval. So then, will I belong to the Foundation? Itachi asked. You won't be under the Hokage's direct command, nor will you belong to the Foundation. Let's just say this will be a special team, independent within the Anbu. I don't really understand what that means, Itachi said firmly. A smile crept onto Danzo's face. I'll spell it out. He stopped there and stroked the area around his right eye, covered with a bandage. The formation of a new team is just the official line. There are no new personnel. It's simply something we came up with to allow you to move freely. Even so, I think we'll give you a couple of men. For the sake of the Uchiha? Precisely, Danzo stood up and walked around his desk. He came over to Itachi and looked down on him with a lightless eye. Saying the new members would be from the Foundation is also a means to keep the Anbu from becoming suspicious. Just like Uchiha Shisui worked for Hiruzen, you will work for me from now on. Danzo uttered the name of Itachi's good friend, and in his smooth attitude, Itachi could see the depth of the darkness in the man standing before him. These two men had killed Shisui. Itachi had heard this directly from the dead man himself, so there was no mistake. Why did you kill Shisui? Itachi asked, the pattern of the Magatama popping up in his eyes. Danzo took the Sharingan in calmly and did not move, smile still on his face. So, you did know? Shisui was trying to stop the clan's coup d'etat for the sake of the village. Just as he was about to do that, you interfered, and he died. Do you really think Shisui's actions could have stopped the coup? Itachi, at a loss for a reply, was ashamed of himself for faltering. His actions would have gotten in the way of my own plan to prevent the coup. But Shisui of the body flicker, even if I had ordered him not to go forward, I doubt he would have been willing to listen, given that I'm not his superior. And that's why you killed him? It is. Bloodlust glittered in Itachi's eyes. In an instant, his right hand was clutching a kunai, and he was thrusting it at Danzo's throat. The man in the tiger mask blocked his way. Itachi's kunai pierced Shuguru's palm. Over the shoulder of his loyal subordinate, Danzo started speaking. You must have already realized it? Shut up. How can we protect the peace of the village? And who will do what needs to be done? Did you not hear me tell you to shut up? If you want to kill me, then go ahead and kill me. But killing me won't stop the clan from exploding. In fact, once I'm gone, and no longer in their way, the clan will likely get more and more carried away. And the moment you kill me, a village official, you become a criminal. Even if you were to make it out of this house, you would be pursued until you were dead. You will not be able to help your clan like that. You'll only be able to watch over the terrible spectacle from outside the village. If you wish to choose that foolish path, then go ahead and kill me. It was a clear provocation. Danzo didn't have the slightest intention of dying. The only other person in this room was Shuguru, but scores of Danzo's people were in hiding all around them. Even if Itachi did manage to kill Danzo, it would be very nearly impossible to take all of them on and escape from the mansion. Every second we stand here like this, the window of opportunity to kill me shrinks. You don't have time for questions and answers. Once decided, a ninja shifts to immediate action. Shuguru slowly pulled out the kunai and rotated his body. He positioned himself with one leg in front, and Danzo stood tall behind him. May I take your silence as your answer? I know. Killing Danzo would solve nothing. Quite the opposite, the situation would most certainly deteriorate. Itachi had a bigger ambition that he had to put ahead of his personal grudge and his desire to get vengeance for his friend. He tucked his kunai away in his vest. Now then, Uchiha Itachi, Danzo nodded, seemingly satisfied. Shall we return to the issue at hand? I'm leaving, Itachi said, and turned his back to Danzo. You can't bear to listen to any more? So it appears you do see it. Then Itachi started walking toward the door. If someone from outside the clan did that, there would certainly be lingering ill will toward the village. Other clans would fear the Uchiha end, and one would inevitably become the next Uchiha. Which is exactly why, ignoring the man, Itachi reached for the door. Someone from the clan must do it, Danzo continued. A mentally deranged young person of the clan. If this is what everyone believes, then peace can come to the village. Itachi opened the door with a trembling hand and glared at Danzo over his shoulder. You are the only one who can fulfill this role, Danzo asserted. As if to reject Danzo's declaration, Itachi left the room. He walked out of the Foundation mansion and walked along the village road at the foot of the Hokage monument. The sound of wings. Insects. Don't play this stupid game. How about you just show yourself already? Itachi announced to the sky, sunlight spilling through the trees. The branches above his head shook, and a human form dropped down before his eyes. Hello, Shuguru said lightly. What do you want? I wanted to talk to you for a minute. On Danzo's orders? IT is on my own discretion. Shuguru put a hand on his white tiger mask. As Itachi watched silently, he quietly pulled it off. So it is you, then? Yes, IT is me. He had seen this face before, with that smile creeping across it. When Tenma died and Shinko quit being a ninja after the mission to guard the daimyo of the Land of Fire, they had been replaced. One of those replacements was a girl who talked a lot. And the other was a boy who never spoke at all. I forget your name from that time. Yoji. That's right. The man before his eyes was the Genin, Yoji. Just 10 from the Foundation cover the entire population of Konoha. And another 2 for the Uchiha clan, the unmasked Shuguru noted. What are you talking about? Monitoring. Separate from the Hokage Zanbu, there is a monitoring division through the Foundation solely for the Foundation. It was only natural that Danzo's organization would have such a division in place. A total of 12 people are required to monitor the people of the village. With just that number of personnel, we can know the movements of the village. Itachi couldn't believe Shuguru had stopped him to boast about the excellence of his own organization. He was not done speaking. Itachi stayed silent and waited for Shuguru to continue. There is one more person who has been ordered to monitor. Shuguru's index finger thrust up into the air, rotated slowly in space, and pointed to his own chin. Me. And what exactly are you monitoring? You. Ever since you started at the academy, I have been watching the person known as Uchiha Itachi. Itachi wasn't surprised. He had a strange feeling since the day of his graduation ceremony when Danzo spoke to him. Something like déjà vu, the feeling that he'd known the man for a long time. If Danzo had started watching him when he entered the academy, then this feeling made sense. Lord Danzo has used 12 people to monitor the village. The fact that I was devoted to you alone is proof of just how much he has favored you. I'm not exactly pleased to have that man favor me. It seems I misspoke. You are already in the palm of Lord Danzo's hand. You won't be able to escape from his darkness. Did you come all this way just to tell me this nonsense? My father was an extremely terrible man, you see? The conversation had suddenly flown off in another direction, but Itachi simply waited for Shuguru to continue. He was jealous of the fact that his son excelled. He was a man who could only show off his own power by hating and causing pain. He would assault me for any reason or no reason, so I knew how to forget pain from before I can remember. The hard quality of Shuguru's voice as he indifferently told this tale was excessively disturbing. It was my 5th birthday. I accidentally fell off my chair and spilled juice on the clothing of my father sitting in front of me. That day, my father was likely in a terribly bad mood. Your apology sounded cheeky, he said, and slit my throat. His voice gradually grew heavier and darker. It was then that I killed someone for the first time. Is your voice an after effect of that? No, Shuguru said, waving his right hand. Because of my father, I completely lost my voice. It was only after Lord Danzo took me in that I learned how to speak by making the insects I keep on my body make a small noise in resonance. The rustling voice was the product of combining the quiet noises of insects. People have darkness within them. I learned that when I was 5 years old. However, the darkness I carry is still slight compared with that of Lord Danzo. My darkness is a personal darkness. But his darkness is the darkness of this village. If you kill him now, the darkness that fills that body will spill out all at once into the village. And if that happens, this village will not be able to remain sane. So, you're telling me not to kill him, or something? Right now, you could not kill him. I won't know unless I try, I know. Shuguru cut him off, as if to beat him to the punch. You are not sufficiently ready, Itachi said nothing. You are prepared to shoulder the darkness of your clan. They glared at each other, neither moving an inch. Only the dry conversation went back and forth in the space between them. Do you know a child called Naruto? The Jinchuriki for 9 tails. Though imperfect, he is the son of the 4th Hokage. Don't you think it's strange that because 9 tails is housed in that body, everyone in the village treats him so cruelly? Danzo? Yes. The narrow eyes on Shuguru's pale face bent into bow-like arcs as he smiled. Human beings are cowardly creatures who obtain their own emotional stability as they sympathize with or slander people lower than themselves, foolish people. Are all human beings? I know, Shuguru said simply, cutting Itachi off. And then, he continued matter-of-factly, faint smile still on his face. Someone like you, born under a warrior star, is different. You'd best not think that everyone is as strong as you are. Itachi wanted to be strong, he wanted to be a warrior, but he had never once thought that he was. Lord Danzo did one thing. He simply made it known that the 9 tails that plunged the village into terror was housed in the body of that child. The people of the village then made their own judgments and decided on their own to discriminate against Naruto. With this terrifying child as their just cause, they shifted responsibility to someone else, and now the people turn a cold shoulder to Naruto. And by looking down on the poor child, they maintain their emotional equilibrium. Your clan fulfills a similar role to Naruto. Isn't that so? Are you saying that Danzo's pulling the strings behind the discrimination against the clan, too? That is an enemy from before Lord Danzo was born. It's not good to make everything his fault. Itachi was forced to move with the slippery Shuguru. He might try to change the flow of the conversation, but he couldn't catch hold of an opening. Sacrifice Naruto's life and reduce dissatisfaction in the village. Sacrifice the Uchiha clan and maintain public order. The dissatisfaction of the various people that arises in the village accumulates in Lord Danzo himself. All responsibility lies with him. That man is prepared to shoulder the darkness of the village. Are you prepared to do that much, at least, Uchiha Itachi? Prepared to shoulder the darkness produced through sacrifice. For Itachi at that moment, those words were heavier than anything else. Had he actually taken on the darkness produced by the sacrifice of his friend's death? All the same, you cannot kill Lord Danzo. And you most certainly cannot escape him. Shuguru's words dragged Itachi into the darkness. Remember this, at any moment, I am watching you. Shuguru's body transformed into countless insects and flew upward. An infinity of black dots bled into the light filtering through the trees, which had started to take on a crimson hue. Once the insects had disappeared, Itachi turned his head to the sky. Shisui. What should I do? He had never prayed for the existence of God like he did at that moment. Answer me, Shisui. His friend's spirit did not begin speaking to him, nor did the hand of God reach down to save him. In the small, dark room, a man in a monkey mask was sitting in front of Itachi. He carried out his duties matter-of-factly, processing the mountain of documents piled on the desk. Papers covered in dense text, papers that looked like blueprints. There were also some pages with photos of faces attached to them. All were documents related to the Uchiha clan. Itachi was in the room given to him in the Foundation mansion. It's been a year since then. Time flies, the man in the monkey mask said. His voice sounded like he was still just barely 20. Itachi had known the face under the mask since he was little. He had seen it any number of times since the Uchiha clan was forcibly moved to the compound on the edge of the village. Uchiha Kage. Itachi had only learned his name once they started working together. Kage was an unremarkable man in a logistical operations division in the military police force. His rank was genin, and he didn't have any particularly spectacular techniques. At the meetings, he never voiced his own thoughts, but rather always followed the opinions of other people. Or that's what I thought, anyway. The man before his eyes was a member of the Foundation. The real Kage was dead. The man before him had a twin, a little brother with the same physique and chakra. The two had both been given Kagen's face. These twins were the Foundation members Shuguru had said were investigating the movements of the clan. The fact that Kagen worked in a logistics division meant that he hadn't had any opportunities to activate the Sharingan. Thus, due to the fact that during his lifetime he had been thoroughly unremarkable, and the fact that he had no close relatives, no one suspected anything when he was secretly replaced. The roots of the village reached that deeply into the Uchiha clan. The real name of the man in the monkey mask was Gozu. His younger brother was Mezu. The incident Gozu was talking about was the death of Shisui. Because Shisui died, the radical faction was forced to revise their plan and postpone the day of action. So his death delayed the coup d'etat, which is a bit of irony. The older Gozu was using a more polite form of speech because Itachi was his superior. The subordinates given to Itachi after Danzo made him an Umbu team leader were Gozu and Mezu. Isolated from the other Umbu teams, Itachi's role was to watch the Uchiha clan very closely, along with these two men. They were going to use Shisui's teleportation to charge the residents and abduct the third Hokage. That was the basic idea. So, I suppose it is only natural that Shisui's death would slow their movements. Quit babbling, and do your job, Itachi said, running his eyes over Yashiro's revised plan for the coup d'etat. Just as Gozu had noted, one of the key elements of the plan put together by his father and the others was the abduction of the third Hokage. The military police force would strike a blow against the village ninjas by kidnapping their leader. Those ninjas would attack them, and they would fight back, buying time and forcing the village to accept the demands of the clan. That was the overall concept of the coup. Their demands were for Uchiha participation in the center of the village, dismantling of the compound, the freedom to choose where they lived, and Uchiha Fugaku named as the fifth Hokage. Itachi couldn't believe the village would accept such impossible demands, but the members of the radical faction seriously intended to push them. As noted in the revised draft you were reading, Team Leader, it seems that they have come up with an idea for abducting the Hokage that doesn't require Shisui. They should start to move again soon, yes? Gozu said calmly, not bothered in the slightest by Itachi's rebuke. Itachi lifted his eyes from the document in his hand and glared at his subordinate. Such impertinence. Silly monkey mask in place, Gozu shrugged his shoulders exaggeratedly, like a clown. Team Leader. A shrill cry came from the door. Hey, Mezu. How was your watch? Gozu asked the man in the doorway. On Mezu's face was a monkey mask just like Gozu's. The only difference was the color of the markings. Gozu's were red, while Mezu's were blue. In the compound, one of them would pretend to be Kagen and watch over the clan. Gozu being here meant that Mezu had to be in the compound. No time for that. They're moving, Team Leader. Mezu's tone was somewhat rougher than Gozu's as he turned his monkey mask to Itachi and began to speak. There's a clan meeting today, and apparently, Fugaku's going to tell everyone the date of the action and their assignments. Did you know that, Team Leader? Gozu asked, and Itachi shook his head from side to side. The time to come has finally come. This was the thought that replayed in Itachi's mind. Shisui's death had only put off the coup. At some point, the clan would begin to move again. He wasn't alone in thinking this. Gozu and Mezu were with him there. Danzo and the other village officials also shared his view. As Itachi kept his two subordinates in check with his eyes, his lips trembled faintly. I knew that there was a meeting today, but I didn't know what it was about. He had barely spoken with his father since the incident with Yashiro and the others, and he had stopped showing up at the meetings. Itachi honestly knew nothing other than what he discovered here with his team. You're the one going to the meeting, right? Mezu said, looking at Gozu. The monkey mask with the red coloring nodded. I see. The words abruptly slipped out of Itachi's mouth. Time to move, then. Up to that point, he had deliberately run from it. From facing the clan head-on. This was his last opportunity. Itachi steeled himself and opened the door. All eyes turned to him at once. Why are you here? A man sitting deep inside the room asked, in a voice filled with malice. Yashiro. I came to talk. What do you have to say at this late date? Beside Yashiro, Inabi stood up and faced Itachi. Itachi? The room fell silent. Looking out into that quiet, he found Izumi. She was staring at him with a look on her face like she was about to start crying. Stop this foolishness, he said, honestly. As Inabi glared at him, Inabi's right eyebrow shot upward and twitched. And what foolishness is that? The coup d'etat. Everyone started talking at once. The only person in the room looking at him with cool eyes was Gozu, now Kagen. Following Inabi, Yashiro also stood up. You don't even come to the meetings. Nothing you can say will change anything now. The village is not as soft as you think it is. We're not kids like you. A blue vein popped up on Yashiro's forehead. We're more than well aware of the fact that the village is not soft. That's why we've endured this situation for as long as we have. If you fight them, you lose. Quiet, his father roared, still seated at the front of the room. The room froze instantly at his tremendous rage. Anyone who says they will lose without even trying is not qualified to be a ninja. Leave this place. As if rejecting his father's words, Itachi stayed where he was. Out. The roar also did not yield. Do you really believe you can win, father? Itachi asked calmly. After a brief silence, his father began speaking, choosing his words carefully. You are still young. You do not know the true face of this world. There is a reality that cannot be changed, no matter how one might struggle in the face of it. You still do not understand just how empty life is when you must simply continue to endure something until death. If that reality is so empty, then change it. That's exactly what we're trying to do, Yashiro interrupted the exchange between father and son. By relying on a foolish plan that doesn't even examine the possibility of failure? How much of a fool must you try to make of us before you're satisfied, Itachi? You think too much of yourself. Show some respect. However talented you might be, I will not permit any further mockery. Be quiet a moment, Yashiro. Captain. I am speaking with my son. Fugaku, Wicked Eye, glared at Yashiro with a murderous Sharingan. His hot-blooded subordinate sat, trembling, a look of dissatisfaction on his face. Itachi. Taking the opportunity of Yashiro's silence, his father began to speak once again. Winning or losing is secondary, the fact that we acted is key. When we act, the people of the village will know the discrimination we Uchihas have been subject to. Then they will fear us, and the village will change. You are already feared. That's why the clan was gathered together in one place and driven to the edge of the village. That was the fake fear of the Nine Tails attack. This time, it will be a fear accompanied by real pain. The nature of it is different. That's splitting hairs. Why won't you understand? A deep crease of sorrow was carved out between his father's eyebrows. I am acting for you, and for your children. My generation will change the way the Uchihas are currently ostracized. You. He meant Itachi and Sasuke. And their children would be his grandchildren. If you're thinking about us, then why would you do something this foolish? Itachi's voice was choked, while his ears picked up hard words muttered by the group around him. Traitor sure talks big. Get out. Right. Get out. In the blink of an eye, the angry voices joined together to form a massively powerful wave. All of it hatred, focused on Itachi. His father could no longer do anything to stop the vortex of anger that had become the consensus of the clan. Itachi lost the will to say anything else. It's come this far, then. He slowly turned his back to his father. And then he walked lifelessly toward the door he himself had left open. Wait. Izumi's voice came at Itachi from behind. Although he stopped, he couldn't muster the energy to turn around. Running over to him, Izumi came around to stand in front of him and grabbed his shoulders. It's all right. It'll be all right, she said desperately, her eyes shining red. If you don't go back, they'll think you're a traitor too, you know. I don't care what anyone thinks. Izumi's voice held a sob, and he felt it only too painfully. Talk to them one more time. If you really talk to them, they'll understand. It's no good. But it's just, like this. Itachi stepped back, peeling her shaking hands off his shoulders, and started walking again without looking at her. They're already where they are. Itachi, she didn't come after him again. He walked home alone on a road shrouded in darkness. The compound was silent, since the majority of the clan was taking part in the meeting. A man was leaning against the wall. He could see out of the corner of his eye. Monkey mask. Mezu's, with the blue coloring. Itachi stopped when he was in front of Mezu, his eyes still turned toward his destination. End of the line. That's it, huh? Itachi continued to stare straight ahead, not responding. I wonder exactly how they're gonna pin down the third Hokage, aka the professor, huh? Ha, ha, ha. Mezu's mean laughter drifted off into the night. Then, apparently discomfited by the unresponsive Itachi, he cleared his throat, becoming serious. Isn't it about time we have to report the results of our investigation to the senior officials? I know, Itachi replied, briefly, and started walking again. Among all the stars glittered in the heavens, only the moon was not visible. End of part 2. Thank you for listening. Remember to like and subscribe for lots more.